Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy of all sorts, from books to movies to video games, and applying the characters within into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. And today, we're going to be looking at one of the most classic examples of an elf in all of fiction. The elf from Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring, Legolas. Legolas is a fan favorite in the movies, and with good reason. He is an incredibly powerful creature with abilities that dwarf most of the other Fellowship. But why is he so powerful, and how would we stack him into a D&D game? Let's have a look. Legolas is a tall and incredibly light creature. He is about 6'1", and according to the old Tolkien lore, elves were able to literally walk on snow without leaving footprints, and walk on grass without crushing the blades. This doesn't really fit into D&D lore that much, because that would make him like a pound. But I am going to make him incredibly light. I actually made him the same weight as your average halfling or gnome, about 50 pounds, and at 6'1", that makes him incredibly light framed. Legolas is 7,000 years old. A lot of people don't realize that the elves in Lord of the Rings are true immortals. They will only die if they fall in battle, and Legolas is no exception. 7,000 years he has walked the earth, only a few thousand less than the ancient wizard Gandalf. With his pale white skin, his blonde hair, and his blue eyes, he is quite a sight to behold. He has the Outlander background, since he grew up in the woodland realm. He has a neutral good alignment, since he can follow the laws of the land, but also can be quite a loose cannon at the right time. His race is Wood Elf, no surprise there, and his class. He is a rogue, funnily enough. A lot of people might think of him as a ranger because of his bow abilities, but it turns out that rogues can use bows too, and there is a subclass of rogue that fits him almost perfectly, the scout rogue. They get a lot of extra powers when it comes to their maneuverability, and that's really what Legolas is all about, is maneuverability and positioning. Legolas is key to be in the right place at the right time. That's why he almost never takes a hit. But let's have a look at his mechanics. He's not weak by any stretch of the imagination. He can hold his own in a fist fight or in a brawl, so I gave him a strength of 14. He is superhumanly fast, able to run and dodge in ways that most humans could only dream of. His dexterity is 20. His constitution is 14. Even though he doesn't really take a lot of hits, he has a decent amount of stamina. His intelligence is 18. Well-educated, 7,000 years to learn things, and although he's not a book study person, he always seems to know a bit of information about anything wherever they go. And with his elven senses and his battlefield tactics that he's learned over the millennia, his wisdom is also 18. He's a bit of a stoic, though, doesn't talk much, and is not really charming in the same way that some of his companions are. I gave him a charisma of 12. He speaks Common, he also speaks Elvish, and speaks Sylvan, since he easily speaks with forest spirits. He is proficient in several weapons. Typically, rogues do not get proficiency in longbow, so I actually gave him a feat to give him some extra weapons, including the longbow, as well as everything else a rogue would normally have, such as simple weapons, rapiers, short swords, etc. Because he's a wood elf, he also has the wood elf training, which gives him more of these proficiencies. He wears light armor, and is technically proficient in thieves' tools, but you don't really ever see him using them. His AC is 17, since he wears studded leather armor. His speed is 55, thanks to some feats and his natural elven speed. And he has a hit point maximum of 129. Now, because of the gift he was given by Lady Galadriel, he wields a +3 longbow. He is incredibly skilled with his bow and able to hit pretty much anything from the long distances that a sharpshooter like him would do, pun intended, since he does have the sharpshooter feat. And he does wield a pair of short swords for when the battle has to be up close. He is proficient in dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom saving throws as a level 18 rogue. And he has several skill proficiencies. He's proficient in athletics, and he's proficient in stealth. And he has expertise in acrobatics, in animal handling, in insight, nature, perception, and survival. He is a skilled junkie and is so skilled. All of those things I said he has proficiency in, he gets a buff of 16 or 17 points. It is almost impossible for him to miss his acrobatics, his perception, and his survival checks. Then there's all the powers he gets from being an elf. Dark vision, fey ancestry, the trance power, and as an outlander he has the wanderer ability. As a wood elf, he can use Mask of the Wild as well. As a rogue, he gets his sneak attack, an extra 96 damage on one of his hits per turn, but he also has the ambush master power and the sudden strike power from being a scout, which allows him to use his sneak attack on a second target. Yes, the scout rogue at their peak actually gets the power to use their sneak attack twice a turn. It's one of the most broken types of top-level powers that rogues get, and the idea that Legolas could pinpoint shoot 2 people in a turn with a sneak attack is not surprising. But he also has cunning action, the skirmisher power, which gives him a much better time at the beginning of fights, uncanny dodge and evasion, since how often do you really see him get hit? Superior mobility, reliable talent, helping him out with his skill checks even further. The blind sense power. This means he does have blind sight out to 10 feet. Hard to sneak up on Legolas. And the elusive power, which makes him, again, almost impossible to hit because it's impossible to get advantage on him. You can never sneak up on this guy. His feats do provide him with fighting initiate, and he grabs the archery fighting style from the fighter, giving him an even bigger buff to his already magical bow. And he takes elven accuracy, since it's unlike Legolas to be running around while he fights. He usually stands still in one spot and fires pinpoint shots. So on top of his plus 16 to hit with his bow, he also has advantage on his shots if he just holds still, which he often does. And he has the sharpshooter feat, so he can shoot from a very long distance away. The full range of the longbow, 600 feet, without disadvantage. With advantage, in fact, if he uses elven accuracy. Then the mobile feat, which gives him more speed when he does need to move, and the weapon master feat, like I mentioned earlier, to give him all the weapons he needs to be the rogue that he wants to be. What can you say? Legolas is deadly on the battlefield and is one of the greatest allies that the Fellowship of the Ring could ever have. His skills with the bow were paramount in protecting Frodo, in standing by Aragorn and Gimli, and during the war, he was absolutely unstoppable. One of the greatest warriors in all of Middle-earth, and well deserving of a spot in the fantasy world of D&D. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below, and keep your eyes peeled for more character creations coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.